So welcome to my first thoughts on Yakuza, Like a Dragon by Sega. Now this game came out in January in Japan, and we've all been waiting for it to come over to this country. It finally has. Now I want to say this is a no spoilers first thoughts on the game because there's a lot to talk about, there's a lot of fun in here, and there's some really amazing story bits that I do not want to ruin for anyone. The first thing I want to say is this series is a gigantic one. I know that for sure. Even for myself, I have only been able to tap into a certain amount of the games because there's so much to it. I think somebody said if you had to play all of the games and experience the entire story of the original games, it's something like 350 hours of gameplay. There's a lot to take in. But the one thing I want to say with this game is you don't need to play all of those games. It's a bonus if you do. You can just jump straight into this because we have a new protagonist and a new story. And you play as Ichiban, and you're a lowly Yakuza henchman. So you get to do all the tasks that are really crappy and nobody wants to do. And here's where we start. The main character is a lot of fun, and I really like him because of one big deal, and you'll understand this if you've been watching the channel for a bit of time. He's a huge fan, the character is, he's a huge fan of Dragon Quest. He loves the Dragon Quest games within this universe, which is such an interesting idea because it's a Sega game, but yet we have Square Enix ideas being talked about in this game. And I love it, he's basing his life on an RPG he played in this game. And he wants to be a hero. He wants to be a good guy. He wants to be a good guy, even though he doesn't always do the right thing, and he gets into a lot of trouble, and he does such silly things. But at the core, he's a good person that wants to do the right thing. Now, this is where I get into the story without getting into the story. The one thing about Yakuza that I really like with the series in general is it's a very, very serious story. You get to go into the world of the Yakuza, and it's a very, very different world than you think it's going to be. It should be black and white, good and evil. And that's the thing about these games that is so amazing, is it's not always like that. There's a lot of gray, and it also takes people that you would think, oh, this isn't a good person, and you find out that they're a very good person. Or somebody who's very, very good, you find out that they are the ones that are truly evil in the game. So it really lets you invest into the characters, and that's what this game really does. It shows you your character, who you are, all the people around you, how you all relate to each other, and why you should care. That was the thing. I started playing the game and I'm like, okay, I'm just doing some side quests and things like that. And then all of a sudden, I'm brought into the story in an incredible way, and I find out what my place is in the world and where I am in the hierarchy of the Yakuza world. And all of a sudden, I started to care. I started to care a real amount. And there's some really crushingly sad, powerful moments here. And that's one thing about the Yakuza series that is so awesome, is it gives you that powerful story, but the world setting itself, at times, there's a lot of humor in there. And that's what I like. So there's a very serious storyline, but yet it's always sprinkled with humor. I've always said that's one of the best stories you can ever do. Have a very serious story, but literate all the way through with a little bit of humor to take the edge off, or just be way too intense. As for the gameplay, it's like the past series. In that regard, you're running around the streets of Japan during the day, during the night, completing quests for people, completing quests for yourself. You get to play karaoke, you get to do darts, you get to do golf, you get to do go-karts. There is so many things to do in this world, so at times it's a little overwhelming. But it's so much fun. So as you're running around the streets doing your quests and all that, you'll get into random combat. Now here is where it is different than the rest of this series has ever been. It stops and we go into, I can't believe this, into turn-based combat like an RPG. It is an RPG now in that regard. And so the combat will stop and you get to pick what attacks you will do. So you can do a normal attack, you can use your skills, you can pick between those, you can use a healing item, or when the enemies attack you, you can defend and ward off their attacks. And also, you have like super special attacks that you can unleash, which are so great. And that's the thing in this game that is so interesting for the series is all of a sudden it's really become an RPG, kind of mimicking Dragon Quest in some regards. Even in the menu system, when you go into the menu system and you see all of the icons in there for your gear and items, it looks like something out of a Dragon Quest game, out of an RPG game. And that's what I really, really like. And this one thing in this game that I was looking forward to the most was trying out the combat. How is it? Is it fun? Oh yeah. It's definitely entertaining, just running around, fighting large groups of people. And then also in the game, and no spoilers again, you will build up your own crew within this game, your own RPG party to do even more combat with. And that's where the game really opens up and becomes a real amount of fun. And as you've been seeing, what I've been showing so far, how are the graphics? They're pretty good. They do their job. They're a typical Yakuza style of graphic that we come to know this generation. And I think going forward, especially on the Xbox Series X and the PS5 as it gets upgraded, the resolution and the frame rate will get upped. And that's where it will be awesome. I played this on an Xbox One X and I thought it was pretty good there. I can't imagine the enhancements going forward. I think the graphics are nice. As I say, going from day to night, the neon look of the city, the detail of the city, I think it's nice. Will I look forward to Yakuza going forward for next gen and a bigger graphical update? Yes, for sure. But there's also a very cartoony, fun style to the game that lends a hand really well to these kind of environments and these characters. And a moment to talk about music and sound. Sound design is great, and I did something this time that I have never done before in a very, very long time. I decided to play the game in English. Usually I always do it with Japanese and subtitles. I thought, you know what? Let's shake it up this game.
Hey, did you forget who you're dealing with?
Of course not. Just some Yakuza street trash who's gotta learn when to quit!
All of the voice acting in the game is really, really nice, really, really fitting. I think they do a great job for every single character. I believed these characters. When these animated characters are having struggles or terrible things are happening to them, I am like, oh my god, I can't believe it. No, that's not happening. Even my wife came in and in this one particular scene, and she's like, oh my god, no. And we were having this kind of moment playing the game because it's that powerful and the voice acting delivers. As for music, it's typical ambiance, background music as you're running around the city. Very fitting, especially when you get into combat. And that's the thing that I want to state here. The combat music is awesome. I really, really like that.
Cool. どうした?
Yeah, I really like that battle music. I think it's really, really great. So overall, music and everything is working for me 100%. So how is the game? What are my final thoughts? What do I really want to say here without spoiling anything? I've really been having a lot of fun here. And I think the thing that's really caught me off guard was how much I've gotten sucked in by the story and how powerful the story is. All these characters became very, very emotionally locked within the story, especially to me, to make me care. I'm caring about video game characters that don't exist in reality, but now they do in my mind emotionally. And I think the game is a great success that way. I think all the mini games and all the quests that you can do, it's extraordinary. There's a lot of gameplay here. That's why I did a first thoughts. I'm like, I can't do a review because there's way too much to take in, but I can say this much, there's a lot in here. For any fan of the series that wants to get in, there's a lot to do. It's almost too much to do at times, but it's so much fun to play in these games, and there's been a lot of the games in the series, they are still reinventing themselves and still being a lot of fun over all of this amount of time, and that's a testament to the series, obviously inspired by Shenmue in the greatest of ways. I think that Shenmue would be so happy with what it spawned with the Yakuza series. I think it's become something that everybody should play now. I really think it's that kind of series where I think in the past people were like, oh, it's a niche series, I'm not going to get into it, where I like now it's becoming more mainstream in a way that everybody should play it. And I like this game because of the RPG mechanics of it and the world and the character who loves Dragon Quest. I can relate to this guy a lot, and I just love the vibrance and the humor and the cartooniness of it all. It's wonderful stuff, and I really had to come in and give my first thoughts on it. So anyways, guys, until next time.